here right now via Skype with Brian Polk, a.k.a. Rad Jose from 23 Minutes of Ska. What's up, Brian?
My day is fine. How's your day been going?
Same old, I guess.
Sorry for putting you on the spot there.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit about the Big Ska Gamble. It's the vinyl record subscription project working on. So
I'm hoping to get this going. I'm hoping to get the money. It's a Kickstarter campaign, and growing up, I was always a really big fan of like record clubs. The big one for me when I was a kid was the Hello Record Club, and you'd get 2 CDs in the mail every 2 months for a year. And I was like, I kind of want to do this. And then Ska's Dead kind of did that with, but they were split 7 inches, and I just wanted one band doing 2 songs for each side of a single 7-inch, so they'd have their own 7-inch. So that was the idea. Every 2 months, you get 2 7-inch records with 2 ska bands, usually relatively smaller ska bands, up-and-comers, I'd say, delivered to your doorstep. I feel like I'm explaining this very terribly. It's going to be awesome.
Now, is this solely your brainchild, or who else is kind of collaborating on this with you?
The only other collaboration on this is the bands, the guy who's helping with the artwork, and the person that's helping master all these songs so they sound pristine on vinyl. I kind of feel like I'm the hub of something that I wanted to do, and I just conned all these really talented people into doing it with me. The only employee I would have is my wife was kind enough to say, when we need to mail these out, I will help you pack them and take them to the post office.
Very cool.
So it's kind of, for the most part, I guess, a one-man operation. It's me doing everything I can to get the word out there, because it's a Kickstarter project, and we need $5,000 to make this a go. So I'm bothering everyone I can through the 23 Minutes of Ska podcast and through just my normal friends list on Facebook. I'm attacking everyone on Twitter, like, hey, have you heard of this? You want to check this out? You want to donate? You want to get some records? New ska records, new ska bands. Come on, guys. And of course, all the bands I've worked with have been really cool and really, really fun to work with. So it makes it good. I did pick out these bands. I think I sent, of the 6 bands, I asked maybe 10 different bands if they would like to do it. 2 bands were breaking up, and 2 bands never got back to me. And so I was really happy, because I didn't want to email every ska band in the world that's around the country.
Right.
And I only wanted to get bands that were good. So I'm really particular. And so I was more than happy that I got 6 that were ready and excited to do it as much as I wanted to put out records by them. So
okay, now let's talk about the 6 bands you got on there.
The 6 bands, yeah, go ahead, Randy. I'm sorry.
Oh, you can go ahead if you want.
All over the interview. I'm a terrible.
Do it. This is all about you. I don't like talking, so.
I think you have a much more radio guy voice. I just kind of sound like an idiot from the Midwest. You have this grizzled, awesome, listen to me, kids kind of voice. I like it. I think you should talk more. Let's go over the bands, I guess. We have Action League. They're a ska punk band. They're from San Luis Obispo, California. Probably the band that I live the closest to, yet have still not seen live. It's still a good 2-hour drive, but I found these guys through the podcast, I think about a year ago around this time. And they were just really, really, really nice. So, a lot of these bands was a combination of, I have a small relationship with them in some way, and I think they're a good band to boot, because, you never want to be the guy who's like, well, I'm putting out a record by my friend's band. I don't really like them, but here's my friend. Right. No, all these records are great. All these songs are great, and I have all these songs, by the way. I've been listening to them.
Are these going to be new songs by the bands that can only be found through this subscription, or are they going to be off albums?
They are going to be new songs.
Nice.
Yeah, that was the hardest part to kind of broker, actually. I was like, all right, you got to give me 2 new songs, and then we got to try to raise the money to put them out. And I'm sure it was a much harder sell. Like, whoever was the liaison from the email to the rest of the band probably had a tough job on their hands. I was just putting it out there to see if they would bite, and the one guy who would get back to me from the band, because I have a contact point with each member, with one member of each of the bands. I cannot imagine how well that would go when they would have to explain it to the other 3 or 8 members. You know, there's this guy in LA. He wants to put out a record, but we gotta raise money, and we gotta write 2 new songs. And
we gotta do it in 2 months.
Yeah, well, I gave them a couple months. Like, I've been talking to these bands, most of these bands, since November. So they had from November till the end of March to get some songs. So, thankfully, that all happened. They're all really hard-working bands, too. So that was another thing. Like, 2 of the original bands that I contacted that weren't able to be on this because they were like, we're in the midst of breaking up, or we're going to pretty much be done by this summer. Because the good thing is everyone who signed up for this to be the bands, and even the 2 that ended up not being on it, really got the idea was to promote new ska bands. So they realized they were not going to be a new ska band any longer. So they politely backed out. But so I got these 6 bands. I think what has been really, and I know I'm off the subject of like going through the bands and saying how cool each of them are. What's really been interesting for me is as this project has gone along, each of the bands has started to check out some of the other bands, and just hearing their reactions to each other has been really cool for me on a personal level, because I love all 6 of these bands. And to hear each of them say, oh, that's really good, or that band has an awesome trombone player, it's really awesome to hear.
You're like matchmaker. You're like ska band matchmaker.
I know. Well, it does. There is a matchmaking element, too, because like every other month I'm sending out 2 records. So I kind of got to find bands that aren't going to clash too terribly with each other, but won't be too samey. So there is a bit of matchmaking going on, like which 2 records come which month, how's the shipment breakdown, and I think I got it pretty right on. I would be pleased if I was a recipient of this club.
Okay, now back to the bands real quick,
to the
just to get that out of the way, and then we can
The worst part is I have probably some like ridiculous little story for every single one of these bands.
Okay, next one on the list I see, Do It With Malice.
Do It With
Buffalo,
Malice.
New York.
2 years ago, they're from Buffalo. They're a ska metal band. They actually contacted me about being on the 23 Minutes of Ska podcast. They're like, could you play some of our music? I'm like, yeah, I could check you guys out. That sounds fine. And I found out that I had checked them before and had bookmarked their MySpace page back in the day. So I'm like, yeah, totally. And they were the first band when I wanted to start doing interviews. I was like, I think I'm going to do interviews next year if you guys are interested. And they said, yeah, we'll do that. So I've been talking to them since November of 2010. Just a bunch of really nice guys. I'm not a real big metal guy, but what they're doing, this ska meets metal hardcore stuff, is phenomenal. If you haven't checked out their second album, The Burnt Over District, it's pretty damn good. I highly suggest it.
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, I gave a copy of that record to my friend who's a metal guy, who the only other ska he's ever listened to is RX Bandits, and he got through the first 4 songs before he called me, because we were at work, and he's like, you just kind of blew my mind with this album. This is great. I'm like, yeah, see? The next band is the Georgetown Orbits, and they're from Seattle, Washington. They do a ska reggae kind of rocksteady thing, real traditional.
Yeah.
I first found them. They were actually on Kickstarter trying to raise money for their second album, and I watched their little video and listened to a couple songs from their first album that they had up. And I was like, well, yeah, I want to throw down. I want to bring... This is my first step into bringing more ska into this world. Like, I will give money for this, of course. These guys deserve to have this record out. And I started building a relationship with them there.
Very cool.
Any questions? As we're halfway through the list, Mr. Andy.
Now we're on a roll.
We're on a roll. Next band is Lockstep from Indianapolis, Indiana. They do a reggae punk, think kind of the Clash, Rancid style, like reggae punk kind of stuff. And I feel this is cheating. I'm actually really good friends with half of this band. They're from the Midwest. I grew up. No, I guess not. Grew up's the wrong word. My 20s were spent going to Indianapolis to hang out with one of the members and go see bands that usually had another one of the members. They ended up getting married later in life. So there's a married couple in this band, and all the sweeter. And so I'm good friends with.
Now,
yes.
Now, did you introduce them? Were you a matchmaker back then?
I was not a matchmaker back then. But yeah, the first time I went out and met Jen, the keyboard player, we went and saw Dave, the bass player, lead singer. Saw him play in his other band called No Reason Given. And they were just fantastic and a lot of fun. And that band ended. They got together. They had been together for a while, and they started Lockstep. And I had been a fan since pretty much day one. And so I am more than happy to be putting out a record by my friend's awesome band. So that I felt that one's cheating a little bit. Didn't really have to go out like trying to convince them so much. They're like, yeah, we'll put out a record with you. That's not a problem. Awesome. Then we have the Shifters. They're a rocksteady band from BC. This is probably my hardest sell, actually, getting them in on the project. Because I had zero relationship with these guys before I sent them the email asking if they wanted to be a part of it. I hadn't even played them on my podcast. They were probably 100% unaware of who I was and what I was doing. But I actually found them through Scott Schaefer, who does the Duff's Guide to Ska blog. And he put up a bunch of videos of theirs, and I had been just rocking out to them for a couple months, actually, before I was like, wait.
You talk about the ones where they were with Queen P from...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I was just rocking to this stuff, and I said... I was at a point, too, where I had most of the bands, and a lot of them have said, yeah, we'll do this, but I was noticing that I had a bunch of punk ska bands, and I didn't want the Orbits George North to be alone doing their traditional kind of ska. And I really love Rocksteady. I think it's great, and so I really wanted to bring that in too. Luckily, King Duncan from the Shifters was really, really receptive to the idea. And after a couple online chat conversations, he's like, talk to the boys, we're in, let's do it. So that was a big sigh of relief there. Not knowing a thing about these guys and just them being on board. And finally...
Yeah, I was pretty excited when I saw that because they are a great band.
I know, and then they started a Kickstarter for their 10-inch record they're putting out, and I jumped on that immediately. I'm kind of a vinyl guy, too. The sixth band in this series called Stop the Presses, and they're a ska punk surf band from Miami. I didn't know too much about them, but I had, over Facebook just a little bit, talked to one of the members of that band. So when the space was open, because there was one of the bands that broke up in the midst of talking about all this. And so I had started a short list of cool bands if I got to a second chance to do this. And all of a sudden, I needed a sixth band. So I went to my list of what I was considering round 2 possibilities and went with the first one, which is Stop the Presses, because I was actually upset that I didn't find them in the initial round of asking bands. Because they do this really cool... they say they're ska surf punk. I would say they're more ska pop punk, kind of with a little bit of that No Doubt kind of pop edge to them.
Okay.
But not too much. And I kind of was like, it'd be good to have at least one band that's fronted by a female singer, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta have that.
I mean, there's females in a bunch of the other bands, too, but they're the keyboard player or a saxophone player or something. It's nice to have one, front and center. Singing their little butt off, and it's to distract from all the guys that are singing their asses off on all the other records.
I'm a big sucker for female vocalists too. Okay, now in a minute,
yes,
I'm gonna get into the different pledges that people can make to donate and the different and the things that they're gonna receive. But I wanted to ask a couple more questions.
Go for it, man.
Before we got to that, the big one really is and you started to get into how you're big on vinyl. The question is, why vinyl? I know vinyl is awesome, and that's the one reason. That's a good enough reason, but it seems in this day and age like a digital download thing, or like even manufacturing CDs is a lot cheaper. When I first saw the Big Ska Gamble, I was thinking of how like ironic that was, or that it's like a vinyl thing, because it's like, I think it was the Third Wave Ska Preservation Kickstarter thing that was a couple months ago that they said, we decided to do a dead music on a dead format. Right? And I was just like, like, brilliant. But I mean, and apparently that worked out well, so.
Yeah, those guys are really nice, and just personal shout out to the two guys that did that at Underground Communique and Asbestos. I emailed them a few times before I decided to throw down my time and energy toward this, and they gave me a lot of helpful advice. So I got to say thanks to Justin and Flood for that. But why vinyl? That is not a bad question. I've always really, really liked vinyl records. Like, ever since I was like a little kid. I was born in the late 70s, so as I was growing up, and my parents weren't the first to even try to switch over to cassette tapes, so it was vinyl records up until pretty much it was CDs in my house. I've only ever known round music formats. It was, and I'd always been thrown on like 7 inches and stuff as a kid. And actually, my dad, I fixed his record player up so I could play records. And let's see, when I was about 16, I started going to local shows, and bands would always have, like, a bunch of bands would have 7-inch records they were selling. Maybe they were selling a CD too, but I guess maybe at the time in like the late 90s, that it was cheaper if you only had 4 songs, and made more sense to put them on like a 7-inch record than to try to get a pressing plant to do them, because there wasn't any home burning back then.
Right.
And I just, part of me appreciated the format a little bit more, because you would get the record at the show. If you had a Sharpie on you, more room for having the band to sign it, because I was one of those dorky kids. I was like, can you sign the record I just bought from you?
That's not dorky, that's genius. I'm the same way.
Thanks, man. And then I would, instead of being able to listen to it immediately when I got in my car, there was like anticipation building like the entire drive home, like with that piece of like music sitting there, and just like because of the 7x7-inch artwork on it, like that was so much bigger and more. It was more visual, which I really liked. Other than just like the little 5x5 CD covers, and I mean that was all part of it for me. It was the artwork, the anticipation until you got a chance to actually listen to it, and the whole really, I guess, Luddite analog. Like I gotta put it on something, then move a needle over and drop it, and instead of just like putting it into a machine and hitting play. I like the manualness of it all.
Right.
Playing a vinyl record.
And you said, all right, let's get into the pledges. Okay. Right now you're just under a third of the way to your goal.
Yeah, I'm at
24 days to go.
I know. I wanted to be a lot further along by now, but I've worked as hard to get the word out, and so that's why I'd be like, yes, Randy, I would love to do an interview on Ska Crazy so more people know about this. Because you don't know the passion in which I want to make these records. I want to make these records.
You got 24 days left.
24 days as of this recording.
What's the date?
It's on May 5th. I guess it ends early in the morning on May 6th if you're on any further east than California. But for California ends at midnight on May 5th, so it ends like really early in the morning on May 6th for you guys.
Okay, so I'm gonna mention this now. If any of the listeners is interested, if you like what you hear so far and you want to subscribe for 6 months, go to www.bigskagamble.com, and that'll redirect you to the Kickstarter page, and you can check out your pledging options, which we're going to talk about right now. I guess we'll start with the bottom of the pledge chain,
which would be
just the pledge $1 or more. It's kind of pledge what you want.
Yeah, the pledge of $1 or more. It was kind of like, I wish I had something to offer anyone who pledged $1 or more, but I didn't really want to be hedging my bets and spending money getting a prize from them, other than just a hearty thank you for helping us get there. So I really didn't offer anything below the actual package, because I'm more or less not so much interested in raising money, but selling these records to people. So that's why really Kickstarter suggests open up just the option for $1 or more.
Right.
I'm like, I'll do that. Just
I kind of figure that because it's on every Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I have gotten some donations, some high-priced donations from people who love me that don't love ska records. So it's been a good idea. But I was really more interested in starting to sell the packages, which is why the prices that are set start at the $36. You buy into this thing,
which is extremely reasonable. That's like $6 for a vinyl record. It's pretty standard.
Yeah, and that also includes the shipping and everything too.
Exactly.
So so it's $36, and also I know deep down in my heart that that is something I would pay. And if it was a little bit more expensive, if it was $2 more expensive, I'd probably say maybe not for me. But $36 is like that's reasonable. I would like to pay $36 for something like this. So I figured that's, I'm getting 12 songs, 6 new records. I can't really be mad at that. And they're new bands, they're new songs. I can't get over stressing that enough. Like, it's awesome. It's going to be rad. You're going to love it. You're going to get awesome albums.
Now, the next one up is $42 or more, and that's for people that are basically outside of the United States.
Yeah, that was
basically. I imagine the markup is just to cover shipping costs. To outside of the app.
It's the absolute lowest I could make it without losing my shirt on shipping. Actually, I would have loved to have kept it at 40, but even that, if I have to do a lot of them, it's gonna really eat into the cost of everything. So I needed to make it 42. I still feel uncomfortable about it, but just the international shipping is so much that I really can't, especially for 3 shipments. And I didn't want to short them on anything and be like, well, no, you get all yours at the end, or somehow split it weird. Like, you get the first 3 even at one time, and you get the second 3 at another time, and so you get one record ahead of everybody and one record after everybody else. It's like, that's not fair. I want to do it exactly the same, whether you're in the States or not. So I had to go for 42, and I still feel easy about it, but it is the absolute lowest price I could set that at.
Okay, now the next one, which is unfortunately sold out.
Sold out. You don't
it's
even
Beat
know.
the Dealer, but I like this one.
If I knew this was gonna sell out, I would have made a lot more available. The Beat the Dealer was, if you donate $52 or more, you got to do an entire podcast for 23 minutes of ska. And of course, I would be there to help them edit it at 23 minutes, and they could do whatever. Like, if they wanted to interview a band, or if they just wanted to play music or talk to me, or whatever they wanted to do for 23 minutes for one episode, they got that. And I'm thinking, even if we don't pull off the Kickstarter, I'm going to have these 3 people do it, because each of them actually threw down more than $52 when they bought it. So thank you to you 3. You were awesome. And that was actually my first sale, was one of those too. So if I knew it was going to be such a boon and people would want that, I probably would have made 6 available instead of 3.
Yeah, see, I sometimes think about, like, I should do a Kickstarter A free one. You don't even send me money, but you could do an episode because I'm lazy.
Yeah. It's odd. I started doing the interviews on 23 Minutes of Ska just because I'm half lazy, and I was like, that's the saves me from trying to find a bunch of new bands, but then hustling to get the interview and then editing the interview. I was like, man, I think I got more work. The next pledge level is the Gambler's Special. And these are all like Vegas based because it's the Big Ska Gamble.
You know what's funny? I've seen the picture a million times, not to change the subject, but
yeah.
I just picked up on the 5 King Ace thing saying Ska.
Alright, I credit where credit's due. That was an idea from Jim from Ska Geeks.
Was it?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I just picked up on that today when I was making the cover for this episode. And I was like, oh, that says Ska. But okay, 77 or more. I'm sorry.
77 or more, that's the Gambler Special. You get all the records, but you also get, at the end of this, in your November shipment, you'll get a test pressing. I only have one test pressing from each of the 6 records to give away. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to pick who gets what test pressing. I'm probably going to ask if we sell out to all 6 of these. Only 2 have been bought so far, which they would prefer. Give me your top 2 choices, and you'll get one of them. But yeah, and that is actually set at $77 because, 77.
You should have them give the top 6 choices.
Yeah.
And they'll get one of them.
In order, which ones would you like?
Right, you'll definitely get one of them.
Yeah, boom.
Because if they all pick, what if they all say the same too?
No, I don't even know. So I didn't really know if these would sell or not. I almost split them up to like, if you want Locksteps, here's for Lockstep. If you want the Shifters, if you want the Georgetown Orbits. But in the end, I was like, nah. It's a Gambler Special, man. You don't know what you're gonna get. You can try to get what you want, and I'll give you the option to tell me what you want. We'll see what happens. And I'm not gonna lie, originally, I didn't even want to tell anyone what bands were on this thing. I wanted it to be completely a surprise until they showed up in your mailbox. But that's not good for business.
Right, yeah. Whoever your marketing manager was told you the right way to go with that one.
I think that
because knowing, it might be tough.
There's a certain sense of what I would like. I know the rest of the world does not work that way.
Yeah, if definitely, a lot of people have a lot of different, within the ska realm, I'll call it. Yeah. A lot of people have a lot of different tastes.
Yeah.
In what I don't know, subgenre or
yeah, like
part
branch
that they fit into. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely good that people would know.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I tried to do. I mean, if you look over the list, it's a pretty good representation of a lot of different styles in the ska genre, which is something I really tried for. So hopefully there's at least one record you'll love, a couple you'll like. Maybe you might not like one, but you just broaden your horizons, and that's a good thing. That's, of course, going to be different for everybody. And our final pledge donation is $200 or more.
The big jamma.
I don't know why anyone would do this, but somebody has. It's $200. You actually get a thank you on the artwork for the sleeve of the records. So, awesome. Go you. Go Johnny. It was a guy named Johnny who did that, so I'm giving him a little shout out here, because thanks, Johnny. Also, it sounds like such a generic name. Johnny.
That's not his real name.
See if he actually wants to go by his pseudonym on the review. By now.
So each...
Yes.
Each record is going to have, I guess, its own full-color, non-generic sleeve then.
That is where you're wrong. Each record is going to have their very own 4-color generic sleeve. Unfortunately, this thing would have to cost me almost twice as much if they each got full-color non-generic sleeves. Yeah, so it's just it's a nice simple sleeve that me and my art friend worked on. It's amazing. I've showed every one of the bands has at least. But
when I meant generic, I meant like it's not a white sleeve with a hole punch.
No.
There's artwork and
full color artwork, yeah, and then there's a hole punch so you know what band it's for as soon as you see it. And that is going to be different on each band, because not only did I task each band with recording and sending me 2 songs, I also tasked with designing one side of the labels for the record itself. So nice. They're all going to look just a little bit different to what each band thinks would represent them better.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun idea. It might have been a hassle for the bands, though. But to me, if I was in a band and I used a band, I would get really jazzed up and excited by that. The art part, probably more than going and recording 2 new songs. I really am a jerk about this whole thing to these poor bands. Please buy these records, because they really want them. They've all put an incredible amount of work into recording 2 new songs and getting me art. Don't do it for me. Do it for the bands.
Now, beyond the subscription club,
yeah,
right now this is obviously the first set. Like, is your plan to go beyond this? And if so, does that mean like another Kickstarter campaign, or will hopefully some of the funding out of this help you fund your next project? Did you kind of plan it that way?
If I sell out these in enough time, and the idea is, like, I want to make 400 records for me to sell, and then each band is getting records as their payment. If I can sell out of what I'm making out of these, if I get 400 subscriptions, the sooner I get that, the sooner I can start planning the second round. If this was a crazy on fire thing, which it hasn't been, or else I'd have all my funding by now, then I would already be calling bands to talk about doing a new one. I had thought about doing it for 6 months and taking 6 months off, and then doing it for the latter half of each year, just to keep the ball rolling. But everybody I've talked to is like, well, if you get this off the ground, you should do it again in January, and then do it again next July.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. So, but hopefully the funding will help. Like, even if I meet the $5,000, that's still not really all the funding for this project, but it will tell me that there is enough fans.
Enough demand, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Now is hypothetical, you reach your $5,000 goal.
Yeah.
And this thing launches and it goes, say somebody hears about it a month from now. Still wants to subscribe, but didn't get to, do it through the Kickstarter campaign. Or is there still going to be ways to subscribe after the, provided everything moves forward? Are there still going to be ways? I guess, are there going to be more copies?
Yes.
For people to subscribe,
If we meet our goal, actually, the minute we meet our goal, I'm having the first 4 records immediately, even if this thing hasn't closed yet. Even if it's not May 5th and we have $5,000, I'm calling up the pressing plant and telling them that it's a go. So yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna have 400 copies of each record, so that's 400 subscriptions. And if we get full funding on this, that only really is going to equal about 120 subscriptions. So I'll have more records to sell to anybody who wants these records in the subscription plan. Let's say you hear about it because you go see one of these shows, and one of these bands play a show, and you see that they have the record there and they're talking about it. And if you want to come home and go online and say it's September, if I still have records, I will send you out all the records that I have, and then when November rolls around, you get the last 2. I will sell these records proudly until I'm out, until I'm dead, whichever comes first. Seriously, since I was like 20, this is all I've wanted to do. And 13 years later, I'm finally doing it, selling records by quality bands. So help me out, guys. Let's meet this goal and let's get these records going.
Well, the one thing I definitely think that you have going is similar to the Ska's Dead thing. It's kind of like a series or a set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's incomplete, really, if you only have the one record that you get at the show. So don't buy it at the show. Not don't buy it at the show, but if you buy it at the show, but buy the rest.
Some love. Then you're just gonna have a double copy and give that to a friend and get them hooked on ska vinyl. That's fine. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where I just really like, I really like music. I really like all this kind of stuff, and my band sucked. Actually, my band is really good. I was terrible in it, and it's part of me. It's something I've always wanted to do. And my band wasn't good enough to try and sell anybody anything, so I found good bands to try and sell to people. I guess I get so off track. I'm all ADD, and I'm always nervous whenever I do an interview. I should have had some whiskey before we started this.
Oh, it's just me, man.
Yeah, I know.
I'm equal nerves.
Thanks for having me on the show, man.
Hey, no problem. It's the Big Ska Gamble.
TheBigSkaGamble.com. Yeah.
And please
donate.
If you're a fan of ska music, help bring new ska music into the world.
Yes, that's exactly what I want to do, but I need your help. Let's get it to $5,000.
Okay, we've got 24 days to go.
Yeah.
Brian, thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you so much, Randy. And all at Ska Crazy.
And I guess I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Oh yeah, anytime you want, man. I really liked that episode we did with Skaggy, actually. So we'll need to do another roundtable episode.
Yeah, we should do a couple of them a year.
Yeah, at least 4.
The quarterly roundtable meeting.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sounds good. Okay, sir.
All right, thanks, man.
I will talk to you, and best of luck to you in the Big Ska Gamble.
Thank you. BigSkaGamble.com. Check it out.
Okay, peace.
Peace. Late.
Ha 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 ha! heavy as lead, thinking about what went wrong. And while the hell am I listening to depressing songs? Maybe I'll go for a drive, but there's nowhere for me to arrive. Living free is bittersweet. I'm living lonely, still on my feet, 'cause I'm alone again, alone again. Sometimes it's alright to be alone again, alone again. But please not tonight. Black lung, 2 packs a day. My knuckles are white, situation gray. Angry and I can't help myself. Though these feelings I have are so bad for my health. I'd rather be mad at you than feeling bad about me. Because living free is bittersweet. I'm living lonely, but still on my feet. And I was born alone, and I'll leave this world on my own, with the time left between. I got love to give, but I'm alone again, alone again. Sometimes it's alright to be alone again, alone again. Well, it can suit me just fine to be alone again, alone again. Sometimes it's alright to be alone again, alone again. But please, but please, but please not. Oh, not tonight, not tonight. Oh, not tonight, not tonight. Alone.
I'm not trying to be funny, but you've really made a joke of me. I get compulsive with a sponge, clean up all the mess you've done, the mess